Thank you for tuning into Behavior Bits, brought to you by Twin Rivers Unified School District. In this video, Laura, that's me, and my teammate Christy will be covering behavior intervention plans. Let's take a look at what a behavior intervention plan is. A behavior intervention plan, also known as a BIP, is a plan put into place for a student who is struggling with challenging behaviors. The goal of a BIP is to increase desired behaviors and prevent challenging behaviors. A BIP is used to teach the student more appropriate ways to get their needs met. Let's go over how a behavior intervention plan works. It helps describe behaviors being targeted and the reasons why the behaviors are occurring. It also outlines intervention strategies to be used when addressing challenging behaviors. Now, let's look at why we record data, which is used to help create a BIP. Recording data helps determine why a behavior occurs. It also helps identify behavior patterns as well as determine if intervention is effective. Let's review some ways to record data. Frequency recording is used to count how many times a behavior occurs during a given time period. Duration recording is tracking the amount of time a child engages in a behavior. We track intensity to help determine the force with which a behavior occurs. We are also going to discuss ABC data. ABC stands for antecedent, behavior, consequence. Antecedent is what occurs before a behavior. Behavior is the action that takes place, and consequence is what happens following a behavior. We use ABC data to record observed behaviors, and it helps give us more information regarding the environment and target behavior. Antecedents are events, actions, or circumstances that occur immediately before a behavior. Antecedents are important because it gives us information on the circumstances in which the behavior was reinforced. It also shows us a pattern of behavior and allows us to predict behaviors and triggers that are occurring. Some examples of antecedents are giving instructions, presenting a task, removing attention, and transitions. An example of an antecedent at school is the instruction given to a student to take out their library book. Now, we'll hear from Christy as we continue to learn about behavior intervention plans.
Another component of a behavior intervention plan are proactive strategies. These are strategies or tools used to prevent challenging behaviors. Some examples of proactive strategies are creating schedules, providing choices, using token boards, and using behavior-specific praise. An example of proactive strategies at school is when the teacher says, "Thank you for taking your library book out," or 5 more minutes and it'll be time to take the spelling test. Click on the link in the description below to view other Behavior Bits videos such as how to create a token board or visual schedule. The last component of a BIP are reactive strategies. They are actions, responses, and planned interventions in response to a behavior. Reactive strategies are dependent on the function of the behavior and the student because BIPs are customized individually for each student. Reactive strategies plan for how to deal with different challenging behaviors at different intensity levels. This plan should include the first steps for dealing with the problem behavior, as well as additional steps to take if the behavior escalates or de-escalates. In order to determine what the desirable behavior the student should engage in, we need to figure out what the verb or functionally equivalent replacement behavior is. A replacement behavior is often not the long-term desired behavior that the student should engage in, but a short-term alternative behavior that allows the student to meet their needs while they are learning the skills to engage in the desired behavior. The replacement behavior needs to serve the same function as the behavior which they replace. An example of this is, instead of screaming to get attention, teach the student to raise their hand to request attention or get help. The reason a behavior continues is called the function of that behavior. These functions are reinforcers for the child. If the behavior no longer works for that purpose, the behavior will stop and a new behavior will take its place. In identifying the function of behavior, this helps prevent a challenging behavior from occurring. It teaches the student better ways to have their needs met, and it ensures consistency across all environments. There are 4 functions of behavior. The first being escape. It is escaping or leaving from a task or demand, unpreferred activity, peer, teacher, etc. The second is access. It is wanting access to a preferred item or activity. The next function of behavior is automatic reinforcement. This is when our senses like the sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, which allows for sensory input. And lastly is attention. This gives access to people or interactions. In conclusion, the goal of a BIP is to increase desired behaviors and decrease challenging behaviors. It describes the target behaviors and intervention strategies. Proactive strategies are tools used to prevent challenging behaviors. The antecedent occurs before a behavior. Reactive strategies are planned interventions in response to a behavior. Data helps identify a pattern of behavior. The verb or functionally equivalent replacement behavior is desirable or acceptable behaviors that achieve the same outcomes as less desirable, challenging behaviors. And lastly, the 4 functions of behavior are identified by the recorded data.